So whether you're just starting out on guitar or you have been playing for a long time, there usually comes a time in our lives when we want to extend our guitar collection with something like this, the Telecaster. However, the problem with buying a Telecaster is there are just so many variations of them. How could you possibly know which is the right Telecaster for you? Well, it's great that you're here because you're about to find out. Let's go. Finding the right Tele is just complicated. Some of them have Rosewood fretboards, others have maple fretboards. Some of them have these kinds of saddles, others have saddles for each individual string, and then it seems like there are a million neck shapes. There are C shapes, V shapes, U shapes, D shapes. And to make things even more confusing, prices are pretty much ranging from $200 to $5,000. So with this video, we're gonna simplify the entire journey for you. We're gonna boil it down to 4 points that you need to consider when you're buying a Tele. And these are fretboard, neck shape, bridge, and the price range. So let's get started with the fretboards. Most of you probably know this, but this is a maple fretboard and this is a rosewood fretboard. Now, both of these sound awesome. There is no better or worse when it comes to fretboards. However, there are slight changes in the sound, and guitarists have argued for decades if these differences in sound are actually significant or not, but I don't want to talk about that. What is more important to me than these subtle sound differences between those woods is actually how different they feel. Maple necks, for instance, are usually lacquered, which means they just feel a little bit different when you play them. Rosewood necks usually are not lacquered, and the feel on that is a little different. Whenever you grab the strings, whenever you bend, or whenever you just fret notes, this will feel a little bit different than this. So my recommendation as somebody who has played for 25 years would be make this decision based on how the fretboard feels in your hands when you're fretting the notes or when you're bending the strings. That way you can easily decide which one feels better. The feel of the guitar and how you fret notes is the most apparent and present thing when you're playing guitar. This should always feel right. And if the lacquered neck feels right to you, go for it. And if the rosewood neck feels right to you, also go for it. So not as complicated as expected, right? We're just boiling it down to the most important facts. Next up, neck shapes. And I feel like neck shapes are the make or break criteria when it comes to buying a guitar. A neck shape will definitely dictate if you like a guitar or like the feel of a guitar. And the problem with Fender neck shapes is there are just way too many. Fender, can you please keep it together and reduce your neck shapes down to maybe 5? Because I feel like there's 30. And I don't think guitar players need that many neck shapes. So let's again simplify this. I pulled up the official Fender website on their neck shapes, and what they have here is actually pretty helpful. So you can see here in this little graphic, they have the distinction between the C shape, the V shape, and the U shape. And these are pretty exaggerated. So when you look, for instance, at the V shape, that's not how a V shape really looks like. This is exaggerated so you get the idea. However, what you can see here is that the C shape would be considered the thinnest, which when you look at the letter C isn't really self-explanatory in my opinion, but this is important to know. The C shape usually feels pretty thin. The V-shaped neck is what I would describe as a neck that doesn't feel thick, but has shoulders. And by shoulders, I mean how it tapers up to the fretboard. So it doesn't feel thick or massive or clunky or anything like that, but it has some shoulders. In your hand, it doesn't feel big, but when you roll your thumb around it, it feels really good. You have something in your hand. To me, a V-shape often is the most natural feel because it fits your hand really well. And then you have the U-shape, and the U-shape is what I would describe, or what is described in the guitar community as the baseball bat neck. It is so massive. it is really, really thick. And these are usually the thickest necks that Fender has. C shapes are definitely the thinnest necks. U shapes are the thickest necks. And these U shapes can be really, really massive. Even if you have bigger hands, this can feel like just too much. But this is how it was back in the 50s, and that is what they're paying homage to. However, I feel like in today's day and age, this is just too thick to do anything fast on it. Of course, you could play fast on it, but it would take so much effort, and it would be a stretch for sure. The point here is to actually consider your hand size and what you like having in your hand. So if you're used to guitars that have thicker necks, then a V-neck or a U-shaped neck might be the best for you. If you, for instance, coming off of a 50s neck Gibson, a U-shape might not feel too thick to you. However, if all you've played in your life is an Ibanez Super Strat, then a V-shaped neck might already be too thick for you. So at the end of the day, it's about what you're used to and what your hand size is. And if you don't live near a store, what you could do is go to Sweetwater and just filter by neck shape. I'm pretty sure that is possible. What do we have here? Filters, fingerboard material, number of its nut width. Oh my God, Sweetwater. I can't believe it. We can filter by nut width, but not by neck shape? Are you serious? I don't even know what nut width even is, and I've been playing for 25 years. Okay, so it turns out you can filter by neck shape, but you can at least look at the neck shape. That will give you an indication if the guitar is right for you. It is important to consider that the neck shape can make the Telecaster feel very, very, very differently. I have personally played Teles that I put right back in the case after like 2 minutes because the neck shape just wasn't it. Just didn't feel right. Either was too clunky or was way too thin. And with the extraordinary number of neck shapes that Fender has to offer, it's much more likely that you get something that you don't like than something that you like. And that's why it's so important to try these out and to educate yourself on the topic, because this is what you will have in your hand every single day. So you better get it right. Next up, Telecaster bridges. This is a religion in its own, I feel like. To simplify this, we need to split this up in 3 types of bridges. Type number 1 is the vintage bridge with the vintage saddles. So originally, the Telecaster came with 3 adjustable saddles, and 2 strings went over 1 saddle each, and then you had to find some sort of a happy medium how they are going to be intonated, because how you adjust these saddles on your bridge will definitely impact your intonation. So it's safe to say that the original vintage bridges had their flaws, and this was one of them, because in an ideal world you would be able to intonate every string separately, because this is usually what needs to be done to get perfect intonation on a guitar. However, a lot of guitar players still like that, because depending on what you play, perfect intonation can be very important or not important at all. Because if you're a blues player and you're mainly playing 3 to 4 chords, soloing, playing all bluegrass stuff, often perfect intonation above the 12th fret is nice to have, but not really necessary. Because it's also not like you cannot intonate a Telecaster at all with the vintage bridge. That's not the case. It wouldn't be true. The intonation can be slightly off, and depending on what kind of player you are, this can make a difference. But obviously the guitar world found solutions for that problem, and they invented the compensated saddle. So whenever you hear that, what they mean is this. You can see these saddles are compensated. You can see these grooves for the strings are in a different place for each string, and they're calibrated in a way that they intonate perfectly. With these saddles, you can take a vintage bridge and intonate them perfectly. So whenever you read compensated saddles, that is exactly what Fender is talking about, because this enables you to have a perfectly intonated instrument. And we have the third type of bridge here. What they're using on today's teles is usually this. It's those saddles, and these saddles you can use to individually intonate every string. This is the most reliable way to intonate your instrument, to have proper tuning. So this will be on most modern teles that you buy today. And last but definitely not least, the price range on Telecasters. How much money do you actually need to spend on a good Telecaster? And why are the prices ranging from like $200 to $5,000? So again, I'm in Sweetwater land here. I just typed in Telecaster and looked at Squier and Fender Custom Shop, and then I sorted them from lowest to highest price. And what I found here with the lowest price is the Squier Sonic Telecaster electric guitar in butterscotch blonde for $199. Not bad, to be honest, not bad. So what are we getting here for $199? We're getting a poplar body. This is usually not the traditional wood used for a Telecaster. Usually you would use alder or ash. So poplar, much cheaper. It is made somewhere in Asia, and you can see that the pickups are just in-house Squier pickups. That is just not the best hardware that you can get. They will sound a little bit more muddy, but they're a great beginner guitar. You can definitely buy this Tele and be okay to start out, to learn a song. This is not gonna break or anything like that. This is a guitar that is really, really solid and definitely deserves the name Telecaster for sure. But the reason why it is so cheap is because it is not made out of ash or alder. It is made in Asia, and the hardware too is beginner level. Next up, you have the Fender Player Telecaster. This is the cheapest model by Fender. I think these are still produced in Mexico. They go for $849, and let's see how they are different. So let's look at the specs here. You have an alder body. This is the first huge improvement when you go up in price. Having an actual alder body, this definitely helps. You have the modern C neck shape, and you're already getting Player Series Alnico 5 Tele single coils. Again, these are in-house products, not the best you can get, but arguably a lot better than what is in the Squier. And you have the Fender name, so your resale value is a lot higher. You can choose between a lot more colors. Look at the bridge. These are the modern bridges I told you about. And maple neck, not bad. Really not bad. Now, next up, Fender American Professional Telecaster in black. Maple neck again, but you can also get these in rosewood. And now, these are made in the USA. So obviously, the price point is much higher. The craftsmanship in the USA is just different. These guys are paid differently, so the price is obviously different. You also get an alder body, you get the deep C neck shape, and then you have the VMod 2 Tele single coils. Comes with a hardshell case. That's also a big topic of conversation, because what do? If you need to go to a gig, you need that case, buddy. Now, is this necessarily better than the Fender made in Mexico? No, absolutely not. We have no evidence that different wood is used or that better craftsmen are at work. I'd say the QC may be a little bit better. So at the end of the day, it is about what you are comfortable paying for a guitar. And if you're fine with a Mexican built guitar, that is just fine. Remember, Tom Morello for Rage Against the Machine still plays a Mexican Tele. And then top of the pops here, I pulled out the Fender Custom Shop Heavy Relic 1953. That is comparable to my Fender Telecaster that you saw in this video. Why is this so expensive? Because you have people building these by hand. This is the Custom Shop. There's only a couple people employed in this. It's a much smaller part of the company than the big Fender USA factory. You have master builders and teams building these, and then you have the relicking job, you have custom shop pickups, you have two-piece select ash bodies like in the old days. So there's this little upgrade when it comes to the wood that's being used. Look at this early 50s U. This neck's going to be massive. Whoever buys this, have fun playing that, buddy. Custom shop, hand wound, twisted single coils, all that kind of stuff. The craftsmanship involved in this, hand wound pickups, hand selected ash, yada yada yada. You get the deal. This is like a deluxe kind of product for people willing to pay this kind of price, because this is just about feel usually. My personal opinion, there might be custom shops who sound better than USA Fender instruments, but it definitely can be the other way around too. So this is more about the feel, what you feel when you grab the instrument. Is it better feeling when you have a relic instrument because it feels broken in and it feels more loose and it feels more rock and roll? All these things that you cannot measure anymore but pay for anyway because you want that kind of instrument, that's fine too. But you do not have to pay $4,000 for a good telly. A $500, $700, even a $200 Squire can be a very, very good Telecaster. So I'm just here to show you why these price ranges are there and why the prices are ranging from very small amounts to absurdly high amounts. It's because of the wood that is used, the people that are building it, in which country they are building it, and this is obviously all made in the USA. I like my custom shop Telecaster. I think it's worth every penny, but that doesn't mean that you can't get very, very good instruments for way under $1,000. All right, everybody, I hope that video was helpful if you're in the process of buying a Telecaster. And if you like that kind of content, make sure you subscribe and like this video. I'm doing that stuff all the time. My name is Joey, and I'll see you in the next one.